Hello, everyone. I'm Brian Reynolds, the Chancellor with the Archdiocese of Louisville, and welcome to our podcast series, What's New in ArchLou. This show highlights the people and ministries of the Archdiocese, the Catholic Church in Central Kentucky. And today, for many of you, you have a chance to be with this podcast live. Now, some of you are going to see it on tape or listen to it on tape, but we're trying to first ever live program. So if we make some errors, you'll pick them up first. This program is, as always, an opportunity to bring in special guests, which I'm going to introduce you to in just a moment. But it's always about you, our listeners and viewers, to get an opportunity to deepen your own faith, your own engagement with the Catholic Church. The show is always brought to you by the ArchLou Podcast Network. All right, we have two great guests, and that's why we did it live today. So our guests are from the Office of Youth and Young Adults in the Archdiocese of Louisville. Joining us is, for his first show, is the director of the office, Father Tony Cecil, and the associate director, Ms. Jonna O'Brien. So welcome to both of you. Glad you're here.
Thanks for having us.
We're glad you're here. They've got an opportunity to talk about their recent trip to the National Catholic Youth Conference in Indianapolis, which was attended by about 16,000 people, 400 of which were from our archdiocese. We're going to hear about their experience there, but we're also going to take some time to hear about the work in the office that they serve, which has been kind of newly designed because of their good skills and good experiences. So we're going to start there. So again, welcome, relax and have some conversation with me if you would. So let's first start by talking about the Office of Youth and Young Adults. What is the Office of Youth and Young Adults? That sounds like a wonderful starting question. It's wide open. We'll start with Father Tony. He serves in that office since last summer. He's also the pastor of St. Raphael's Parish here in Louisville. He was a graduate of Bethlehem High School and was ordained a priest in 2019. Father Tony has an undergraduate degree from Marian University and a graduate degree from St. Meinrad's and the Pontifical Athenaeum of St. Anselm. That's a mouthful.
It's less fancy than it sounds.
Okay, very good. Prior to St. Raphael's, he was associate pastor of Epiphany and St. Martin de Porres parishes here in Louisville. So let's start with you, Father Tony. What is the Office of Youth and Young Adults?
Yeah, so the Office of Youth and Young Adults is really a way that we're really an extension of the Archbishop's ministry, right? He's our shepherd of this part of the vineyard of the Lord, these 24 counties in central Kentucky. And so there are different offices in the Pastoral Center and the Maloney Center that kind of take a special area. So our special focus are first youth, which we define as middle school students and high school students, but also young adults. So those about ages 18 to 35. So we seek to really help them have an encounter with Jesus, but also support all of those throughout the entire archdiocese that minister to them.
Very good.
Yeah.
With Father Tony today is Jonna O'Brien, who has nearly 3 decades of experience in forming young disciples. She has worked as the director of youth ministry in a number of parishes, most recently St. Patrick's Parish, which is my home parish, as a matter of fact. So very good. She's been married to her husband, John, for 38 years, and together they have 2 children who has blessed them with 7 granddaughters, all under the age of 7. I tell you the truth, folks, I see her at Mass on Sundays sometimes, and there's usually a lineup of these little girls parading behind her. John, thank you for being here. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what brought you to the Office of Youth and Young Adults.
Well, 30 years ago, I think I said, yes, I'll help out in my parish a little bit. And that really has come a lifelong calling for me. Ministry has just become a way of life over the last 30 years. I began in Meade County Catholic Youth Ministry and stayed there for a while. My husband was transferred to Evansville, Indiana, where I went and was the director of youth and young adult ministry at Good Shepherd Parish in Evansville, Indiana. found my way back here. I worked for you for about 18 months in the chancery. And then my true calling is to be a youth minister. So I definitely went back into youth ministry at St. Patrick for the last couple of years. And let me tell you, them grandbabies, they keep me on my toes.
I bet they do.
And I have an announcement, number 8 on the way.
All right.
Awesome.
I'm praying for another girl. For you.
Me too. Me too.
You know, Jonna, one of the gifts you have, and I mean this, and it's not a statement about age, but it is a statement about experience. You are our most senior youth minister person in the diocese. You've served so many young people over decades. Mm-hmm. That's hard to say in this work because a lot of people don't stay in youth ministry that long.
Right.
But we're so glad you joined our staff this past year. You're both new to the office. What was it like? Because both of you came out of mostly exclusive parish work. Let's a little insight. What's it like to come to work at the Dawson level? A little bit different world, Father Tony.
It is, yeah. It's really given me, and I think Jonna too, a broader view of the church, right? Because it's easy for us to think about the church as our individual parishes, but for us here, you know, the church is about 110 parishes, and so it's given me really a deeper appreciation for all that goes on and all that happens in, like I said earlier, in Central Kentucky. And it's given me also a deeper appreciation of how all of the different ministries work together and just seeing how things work. Because when you're sitting in your parish, sometimes you don't have a full understanding of how all of the ministry
whole picture
in the Archdiocese happens. Yeah.
Good. John, I know one of your focus areas is helping parishes do effective youth ministry. You know, I think every study done in every parish, in every diocese in the United States, when they say, what's something we need to work on, youth ministry comes out near the top of the list. And now we have an expert on our staff who's going to help all the parishes, not in the first 6 weeks, but tell us, how do you go about that work of helping parishes?
Well, I think helping the parishes, that's in my heart.
Okay.
It's what I want for youth ministers because I've seen youth ministers struggle through the years. And just walking alongside them, maybe answering a question, helping them with a resource, maybe just be a listening ear, you know, and just by the end of the time that I meet with them, just say, you know, really, if you think about it, it's about relationship. Mm-hmm. Give relationship with the young people so they have a place to belong and a place that they can encounter Christ.
That's good. That's good coaching. That's good coaching on your part for all of our caregivers of young people, youth ministers, whether they're a staff employee or whether a volunteer, the ones who are caregiving at the local level. So we're grateful. Father Tony, I know the office also talks about young adults. I think you said up to 35. I was hoping you were going to say 70, but I'll pass on that. But tell me about how are we connecting with young adults?
Yeah, that's a great question. So across the church, ministry to young adults, I think, is something the church is still figuring out. Mm-hmm. Because the thing about young adults is within that time frame of 18 to 35, you have so many different stages of life. You have kids who are just going off to college. You have people that are dating, newlyweds without children, newlyweds with children. So there's so many different needs. But I think right now in the Archdiocese, there are a couple areas where we're really doing this well. One of them is our college campus ministry. So we have 3 college campus ministers that Jonna and I work with. So there's Father John Baptist at the University of Louisville, Father John at Bellarmine, and Sister Katie, who's starting campus ministry at Spalding. And so I think they do a great job of helping young adults on those college campuses figure out, really it's a chance for them to make the faith their own now, right? Like their parents aren't there to make them go to Mass, but just to meet their needs and help them figure out how to live their faith. So we do that really well. And the other thing that we have going in a really strong way are certain young adult groups, especially the one that comes to mind the most is young Catholic professionals.
Okay.
So they have regular gatherings, but they also have a text group with like over 200 young adults, and they have sports leagues, and they have all these different things going on. So that's something that's already there, and something I know John and I really want our office to support and to build on, to make it stronger, to make it better, and to expand it, because there are a lot of young adults that still aren't involved in those things.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I guess for the two of you, Jonna, you're going to focus on helping parishes, particularly with teenagers or young people, and I know we have this other area with young adults, but together you help us to attend to an age group that is full of opportunity and energy, and also frightening to lots of other people. So I'm glad to have two people I know who love them. Which is, you said, Jonna, it's relational. It's about relationships. That's right. And then both of you have that ability. So we're grateful. But I want to turn our attention, because the show really, we could do a whole show on youth ministry. Maybe we will. Yeah. But I want to talk about the National Catholic Youth Conference, because that was just a couple days ago when it happened and you came back. So that's our main topic today. We took a large group of students. Father Tony, can you start by telling us, our listeners who may not know, what is NCYC?
Yeah, so NCYC is kind of the main event of this larger organization called the National Federation for Catholic Youth Ministry. So they work with the bishops in this country on doing youth ministry well and providing resources, a lot of the work that we hope to do to support our youth ministers. And their kind of large event that they have is the National Catholic Youth Conference. So this is an opportunity for high school students from all over the United States to get together. And there are different aspects to it. The main thing that I think is the most powerful is getting to celebrate your faith and see that the church is much larger than you thought it was. That's a huge thing for the youth, because many of them have never seen more young people than who are in their youth group or in their school. Yeah. And they go from, maybe 20 or 30 kids at youth group to 16 or 17,000 in a football stadium is a cool thing. But there's also, there's the celebration of kind of the vastness of the church, even just in this country. But then there's the real opportunity for good, solid formation that provides that encounter with Christ, both on a large scale. We have the big general sessions in Lucas Oil Stadium, which this year EWTN carried. So they're all on YouTube and they're worth watching if people haven't seen those. But then outside of those large sessions, there's also opportunities for them to go into breakout sessions on all kinds of different topics that are relevant to them.
Very good. So
it's just a great opportunity to gather the young church in the United States.
Jonna, who came from our diocese? Tell us about our group.
Yeah, we had an amazing turnout. Like you said, over 400, actually 401.
All right.
A little less than 300 kids, a little over 100 adults. We had 8 priests, 1 deacon, and 2 religious sisters. So we had a good group that went. We represented 35 different parishes and 3 of our high schools.
Wow, very good, very good. How long a time is NCYC?
NCYC is Thursday through Sunday.
Okay, very good. Just keep that in mind for folks. Imagine spending that many hours with 16,000 teenagers. Okay, I'm sure it got a lot of national and international press, because the unique thing of the program this year, I know, was a virtual question and answer period with Pope Leo. So I want to talk about that, because that's really unique in all the history of NCYC. So what did you experience during that time with the Holy Father, Father Tony?
Yeah, for me, I kind of had a unique perspective on the whole thing. A few days before the conference, I was asked to be the chaplain for the main stage. So I kind of got to see a behind the scenes of all the work that it took to make it happen. And then for me, one of the really special things was seeing how fulfilling it was for all the people that helped pull it off, to see their joy when they saw just the looks on the kids' faces, and seeing the Holy Father. It's such a great blessing that our Holy Father is from our country. He speaks our language with a Chicago accent, right? And so getting to see him comfortable and interacting with young people, but just to see the excitement and feel the excitement. I mean, hearing the man just pops on the screen and 17,000 people just lose it, exciting. There's such a beautiful energy in the room, but also just a seriousness that balanced it, that the kids understood how special this was to get to interact with him.
I got to watch it. Most of the staff of the Pastoral Center got together to watch that section. He was on for close to an hour. Jonna, what did you experience? Because watching you were there, so that must have been amazing. Watching him on TV was just, again, as Father Tony said, he's bigger than life, appears on a screen, and 16, 17,000 people were screaming and cheering. It was more like a pep rally. What was it like? What did you experience being there, Jonna?
You know, it's one of those moments that kind of stop you right in your tracks.
Okay.
You know, I was in awe.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen a lot of things over the years, and a lot of things I feel like I'm a little bit, you get used to it.
Okay.
That was something that you couldn't get used to.
Yeah.
I mean, the chills. Yeah. And there was a lot of screaming and cheering for him, but all of a sudden, Lucas Oil, when he started to speak, became quiet.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And just to look around at those kids, to see it in their faces that they were seen and they're valued. Because one of the things he said, the story goes, that when he was asked to send a video to NCYC, he said, what about maybe doing it live?
Yeah.
Well, if that's possible, you know, yes, we'll do it. Can you give us 10 minutes? And he said, how about 45?
Yeah.
So it really showed us where his heart was.
Yep.
And he wanted to be present for those kids. So it was just you said it was cool, but we have to not say that. It was lit.
It was lit.
It was lit? Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's what they say. By the time we hear about it, they may not say it anymore. But one of the really special things, Dr. Reynolds, was that, like, being there, the totality of that day, starting in the morning with our Holy Father, and then the end of that day. And this is why it really is worth people going to watch what happened. The end of that day, we had this powerful experience of Eucharistic adoration. And there's nothing like being in a stadium with 17,000 young people who are worshiping God together, and then it falls totally silent and you can hear a pin drop. And as I was reflecting on that, one of the things that was so beautiful was here in the morning, we have this encounter with the successor of St. Peter, who is one of the reasons he's so important is because he's a visible sign of our unity, right? And then in the evening, we begin the day that way. We end the day by this encounter with Jesus himself and the sacrament that unites us as Catholic Christians in the Eucharist. And so I think that's part of what made that day so powerful is you couldn't help but feel this overwhelming pride and joy and the gift of our Catholic faith and these two really strong signs of the Catholic faith.
Wow. I can imagine the energy there, because just the energy, even in our office building, was special that way. Now, I listened carefully, and there's been articles written about what he said and so forth. You were there, so I'm going to tell you my two favorite things I heard him say. You may have the same ones or different ones, so I like to think about those. He said what is a common line in Catholic youth ministry. He spoke to the youth that they're not only the future, but the present church. And that's a reminder that they're important now, but they're also something to invest in. And the other one, which was really fascinating and gave me lots to pray about, when he said, we should not use political language to define or describe the church. People talk about the church like they do politics, conservative, liberal. He said, don't do that. He said, don't talk about the church that way. Talk about it as if Jesus is the focus. Those are my two. Comment on, John, on either one of those quotes that you heard especially, or something else you heard.
I love the quote that the youth are the church of today, but that's nothing new. We've been saying that for decades and decades, and I have been living it for decades, for 30 years. It was great to hear the Holy Father echo the truth in that. It was powerful, and it affirmed us youth ministers that we're doing the right thing, looking at the youth's gifts and talents, their leadership, what they can bring to the church today, not someday, today. Yeah. So that was big for me, and I think it was big for a lot of the youth ministers and the people who lead young people.
It probably didn't need to be validated, but the echo that it came from him is what I'm hearing you say.
Yes.
That's like, yes, we know, and you're saying it too.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Father Tony, a quote you heard, or either one of those? Or?
Yeah, both of those really stuck out to me, because that's something like Jonna, as a young person in the church, I have been like a dog with a bone. Like when I was a high schooler, like I'm the church now, and our young people are the church now, and they don't need, sometimes I think one of my hopes coming from the Holy Father saying that is sometimes we make efforts to engage young people, but in a way that almost separates them instead of integrates them. So I really hope it inspires people to really seek, how can we integrate our young people into the life of the parish so that they feel like they're part of the church now and not a side ministry that we do. So I was really glad to hear him say that. And the political language thing is so true because, in the body of Christ, we don't need any division. And I think that's something in our American context where so much is involved in politics. I think it's easy for us to transfer that onto the church and to put ourselves into camps of what type of Catholic we are. But Jesus is neither one. And the whole reason we're here is because of him. And that's what the Holy Father was really getting at. So we don't need to worry about labeling ourselves as a conservative Catholic or a liberal Catholic or a pre-Vatican Catholic or a Vatican II Catholic. We're Catholic. We're here because of Jesus. Everything that we're doing is because of him, is for him. And that's what really matters. So I was really glad that he said that.
Yeah, I am too. Politics tends to divide us and church should unite us.
Yeah. And one of the things that struck me too is something Jonna and I talked about earlier today, where we went out to one of our parishes after NCYC. They had their own kind of little celebration. And I'll just let Jonna, because it was your story that was so good.
Tell a story.
Yeah, it was just great to sit down, and we were talking to some young men who had been to NCYC, and we were asking, what is it that you loved most about NCYC? Well, every time we ask that question, we get the same question, is the Pope. But I liked particularly that he said to me, when he was talking to us,
Yep.
He felt that the Holy Father was talking to him directly and talking about friendships. And that's pretty powerful to hear from the kiddo.
When the fact that he could feel that sitting in a stadium where the guy's on a screen, but he felt like he really had an encounter. And I'm glad NCYC used that language, that this is digital, but it's an encounter with the Holy Father.
I endorse your recommendation to our viewers and listeners to look up that presentation, because it was powerful. Jonna, tell us what else takes place at NCYC. Other speakers, workshops. Can you tell us just a little bit?
Sure. The keynote speakers, dynamic, really meet the kids where they are, challenge them. A lot of breakout sessions that come from prayer to service. Talked about mental health crisis, even just how to live your faith daily is some of the breakouts. One of the most popular thing is the thematic park. A lot of interactive booths this year, some really great things about the Holy Spirit and the gifts of the Holy Spirit, where they could go through and have an interactive component with each gift of the Holy Spirit, which really was neat. Just everywhere you go, laughter, conversation. NCYC is the young church alive and on fire, so that's just some of the other things. I mean, you can be walking through the hall and they're yelling NCYC and God is good all the time. So it's just some amazing energy.
That's that pep rally theme again. It goes back out. That's terrific. Now, tell you the truth, I've been to NCYC a number of times before it was even called that, and I won't tell you it was 1974 the first time, but that was a long time ago. And I've even had the privilege over the years to speak at it a number of times as one of the speakers back in my own time as a youth minister and a youth trainer for young people and adults. But one of my most special experiences was when my own children went to NCYC, who are now in their 30s, so it's been a while. And my son attended, and I remember asking him when he returned what was important about it for him. He described an immense feeling of connectedness. He said, when you're in a stadium with thousands of your peers and they're all saying the Our Father together, he says, it's echoed this. He said it was like a song. It wasn't, they weren't singing, but it's like a song. He used that imagery because we're all in tune together. He said, when people share their faith like that, it's hard not to be moved. I still remember this conversation I had, and that was a couple decades ago. So, Father Tony, you used the example of the adoration. Let's go back a little bit. Prayer, large group sessions, large group singing. There's bands. There's and then the poignant time of silence with the Eucharistic adoration. Talk about the stadium experience, because I'm reflecting on my son a little bit, because that's what he kept telling about.
Yeah, the stadium, I think, is probably like the home of the most powerful moments of the conference.
Okay.
And it's amazing that the stadium, really, I joke with people, I've been to Lucas Oil Stadium like 20 times, and it's only ever been for church. Like, never been to a football game there. But it's amazing how the Lord comes in and completely transforms the space, because we're in a stadium, they've got the field covered, you know that you're still in a stadium, but at the same time, there's this feeling that comes over the room, and we call that the Holy Spirit in the church, right? Of just the Lord's presence, where you really feel like you're standing on holy ground, where it just creates this atmosphere through the experience of praying together and singing together. Jesus said in the scriptures, where 2 or 3 are gathered, I'm there. Well, I think if 17,000 are gathered, he's going to show up, right? And it's those powerful experiences of that large community, I think, that really opens the kids up to see what a big deal this is. And I think that itself is a real pathway to an encounter with him.
For those who don't know, the stadium is covered, so you're not outside.
Yeah.
And so it has this strange feeling of a smaller space, even though it holds many, many thousands. Yeah. Jonna, your experience of the whole environment, I know you've been a number of times.
It's just electric. That's a good word for it. It's just electric. Laughter, tear, and then the deep reverence that the kids have kneeling in Lucas Oil Stadium. We had the pleasure of being on the floor. Every delegation gets to be on the floor at some time. Well, we had the pleasure of being on the floor during adoration. So we're down front and center, right in front of the monstrance, and we're all praying, and the kids are coming and coming and coming and kneeling to Jesus in the monstrance, in the aisleways, hundreds. And you're just watching this take place. And then I'm looking around and I see hundreds, maybe thousands, walking to get in line for reconciliation.
Oh, wow.
It is amazing to see that. And then I think Steve Angrasano said it really great the last day. He said, this place has changed from the time we got here to the time we're getting ready to leave. Hundreds and thousands of you guys have been to reconciliation, and the whole room was just transformed. And you could feel that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, how do we keep this transformation going? I know you have some plans coming up. So tell us about, I don't want to be at all limiting of the 3-day experience, because it's bigger than that, we know. But keeping it going is also a challenge. So what else is going to happen now with this?
Yeah, so anytime you have one of these like mountaintop experiences, it's important to bring it home and to keep some elements going. So we did that in small ways through giving our youth ministers some prayers they could do and some resources they could use. Jonna just mentioned Steve Angrasano has a little program on ArchLou that you can use after a conference, so we sent that to them. But what we're really excited about is to have a follow-up event.
Okay.
And so in March the 15th, okay, thank God I got that right. On March the 15th, at Sacred Heart Academy, we're going to have what we're calling the I Am Encounter. So this year's theme for NCYC was I Am. And in a way, this is a follow-up, but it's also an opportunity for any young person in our diocese. So we're inviting anyone in 8th grade all the way through high school. And for those who experience NCYC, they're going to get to go a little bit deeper. But we know there's a lot of young people who couldn't go. And so this will give them, on a smaller scale, some experience of what it was like. So we're going to have one of the MCs, Guian Gamboa, who is on the main stage the whole conference, is going to join us for the whole event. And we're going to have speakers, we're going to have worship, we're going to have Eucharistic adoration. So it'll be a way of carrying this from Indianapolis with people from all over the country and bringing it back home into our local church and having a smaller but appropriately sized experience here in our own backyard.
We're blessed to have him coming here.
Yeah.
That's great. That's
amazing.
Great opportunity. Yeah. Oh, I'll look forward to hearing how that comes out. Having the life go beyond the event is really important. You make us very proud, but I'm mostly proud of our young people who went and took the opportunity away from their busy lives and the adults who work with them. Okay, I want to circle back before we end our program today. Last question I have for both of you has to do with you've now been in the office for 5 months. I know it may feel like 5 years, but it's only 5 months. You use the word transformation. You're already transforming the diocese. Your energy, your approach, the hope you've given is a great gift. But what are your hopes for the ministry as you look to the next few years? Jonna, you go first. What are your hopes?
My hope is that every young person in the Archdiocese finds a place to belong, a place to call home.
What are you going to do to get that?
I know. So that's my big one. But belonging makes all the difference, right?
Yeah.
But also want our youth ministers, our young adult youth ministers, our campus ministers to feel supported and connected too. So we're stronger together, so we can work together, help each other in all ways. So that's would be, the greatest thing. Also would like to see our deaneries, our parishes and our deaneries work together a little bit, and then our schools, our high schools work together with the youth ministry in their parishes. So I think that might be some really great aspects to just really get in there and make some changes.
Good work ahead there. Well, Tony, any hopes you can add?
Yeah, I echo everything Jonna said. And I think one of the things that's been exciting in this new opportunity is I think Jonna and I work really well together.
We do.
I think we have a very similar vision for what this could look like and the opportunity we have. But one of the things that I'm really proud of is we spent some time really praying about what's the mission that the Lord's given us and how can we make sure everything's flowing out of that. So my hope is everything Jonna said, but coming through living our mission well. So we rewrote our mission statement. It's one sentence, if I can share it.
Sure.
It's so the mission of our office is forming, equipping, supporting, and collaborating with ministers in the Archdiocese of Louisville to lead young people to an encounter with Jesus. And so I think if we focus on those things and doing them well, if we focus on our parishes and supporting youth ministers, I think we'll be able to do that. And that's my great hope, is that not that Jonna or I or any of our ministers get a ton of accolades, but that a young person encounters Jesus and it changes their lives, because that's what he does.
And that's the greatest gift.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, thank you. Thank you first for being here and for all the work you put into NCYC. But even greater than that, as important as that was, for the work you're doing for the whole Archdiocese, for the church. Your service is a great gift. So much hope for the future, and we're all going to be blessed because of what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. And we thank you, our listeners and viewers, for joining us for this live edition of What's New in ArchLou. Tune in again next month.